Nick Darr here, getting ready to shoot another episode of Business Over Brew, which wouldn't be possible if not for our great sponsors at Roberts Motors. You know the Roberts Motors name. They've been around since 1949. Definitely a name that means quality. We certainly appreciate their support of not only this show, but all they do for the community. You talk about a local business that gets it in terms of supporting great community causes and just being involved in the community. The guys at Roberts Motors, Sam, John, the rest of the crew there, they really understand what it means to be a good business citizen in the community, and they've done that for a lot of years. If you're in the market for a vehicle, you know the car industry has been a little upside down lately in terms of inventory. They're starting to get more and more vehicles on the lot. Starting to see some new Broncos out there, so go check that out. A little more pre-owned inventory as well. They're certainly always in the market to give you a great deal if you're looking to sell your vehicle as well. Now's a great time to do that. And maybe something we don't talk about enough is just a really great top-notch service center at Roberts Motors. If you need work done to your car, you need tires, oil change, any kind of service work, Roberts Motors is really a terrific place to consider. And they would just appreciate the opportunity to do business with you, whether it's buying a vehicle, buying your vehicle from you, or getting some work done to your vehicle. Check out Roberts Motors on Albee Street in Alton or at robertsmotors.com. Welcome to Business Over Brew. Very special episode today. Pleased to be joined by a guy who has been trying to get on the show for a long time, but wouldn't actually come on the show unless I agreed to let him have his own walk-up song.
You were supposed to announce me, Todd Laux, standing at 5'10", weighing at 200 pounds of solid muscle, but I'll take the walkout song.
5% body fat.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Long time coming. We've been trying to do this for a while. So
are these free?
Yeah. Hey, be right with you.
Ma'am.
This is why I wanted to have you on the show.
It is?
You're very entertaining.
Well, it's the reason I wanted to be on here because I figured the drinks
free
were
drinks.
free.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes.
The secret's out. So we'll probably get a lot more people trying to be guests on the show now.
I do like how you said I've been trying to be a guest, and I like that.
Right.
Like
It's not really been that way. It's kind of been the other way around. But we're busy guys, so it's tough to get our schedules together, and you're training somebody every afternoon. But always start with just give us a little bit of background about yourself and where you grew up and all that good stuff. I bench press about 250. Sure, that was not the question.
Biceps about 19, 20 inches. I like long walks on the beach. I have a one-eyed dog named Knuckles.
He's prominent in your videos.
Yes, he's a crowd pleaser, we like to call it. I was born and raised up in Calhoun County in Campsville, Illinois. Really small town. Yeah. I think at the time it was about 400 people. I think now it's probably 150 people. Little river town up there. Lived there until I was about 15. My parents divorced, and then we moved to the big metropolis of Bethalto.
Probably seemed like it at the time anyway. Going from Campsville to Bethalto.
I could remember my friends like, "Oh, you're gonna go be a big city slicker now." Seriously,
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
it was like going from Bethalto to Chicago. Like that's how it felt back then.
So that was just going into high school that you moved.
Well, no,
Bethalto,
it was the middle of my sophomore year.
Okay, yeah.
We had just in Calhoun. We had just went to the state championship. And got runner-up. Coach Rick Johns was the coach then, right before Calhoun made their. So we had the state championship game, on Saturday, and I started Bethalto that Monday, the very next.
Wow.
Yes, not by choice,
yeah.
not by choice at all. But old Sergeant Margaret, my mom said,
"We're
going." Yeah,
right. So. That had to be a tough transition, leaving. I know when you play, when you have that kind of bond, you. There's a lot of good relationships to leave behind.
It was a tough move. But like looking back, I did not want to make the move, but at the time it was. I mean, looking back now, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. But
so now, you're a very outgoing person and probably easily make friends. Was it always the case? Was it the case when you made the move? Or?
Yeah, I've always been pretty outgoing. I mean, it's tough, especially in the middle of the school year, going like that. But I was decent at sports, and that always helps to make friends pretty quick. So, and like coming from Calhoun, and I don't know if my Calhoun buddies will listen, but then fashion styles and everything are just a little different coming from there. So that made the transition weird. But like I said, I was pretty decent at pretty decent at sports at the time, so that helped a lot.
But you stopped wearing the hat with the fish hook on it and stuff.
Right. I quit shopping at Cabelas as much,
Right, yeah. So after high school, what then?
I joined the military. I was in the Army National Guard, infantry, and I did that while I was going to college. I went away to Eastern Illinois University, and so after that, did a whole lot of different jobs between then and where I am now.
What did you go to college for? What was your game plan at the time?
My major was speech communication, which anybody watching this video
is a tough degree, dude. I mean,
and it must have been of yours.
Yes, it was.
Anyone watching, like, wow, that guy majored in speech communication. I majored in that. I had a minor in public relations. I did some like, I was like the women's volleyball PA announcer and things. I kind of wanted to go into some sort of broadcasting or something like that, but never really pursued it.
You kind of did eventually. Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah. But, once I take your show over, yeah.
Sure, yeah. I mean, anytime. Talk a little bit about your experience in the military and how that shaped you.
I was what's called 11 Bravo or infantry. And that's the human sandbags, the guys that are on the front lines. And I was young and dumb at the time, and I didn't really know you had a choice of what else you could be. So, that's you go to basic training and your AIT, and that's some of the hardest training that the Army has. And so, I use a lot of the thing that the drill sergeants and things used to say to us back then. I still use a lot of those like sayings and just some of the way the Army used to do some of their trainings. You kind of, quote unquote, beat them down and then build them back up and try to, increase people's confidence and things like that. So, I mean, I think it made me a little hard, a little more hard-nosed. It teaches you discipline and respect and things like that. So I think that's played a major part in what I do now.
What were some of the jobs that you had along the way?
Man, a lot. My first job out of high school or out of college, I worked as like assistant sales manager at a tire shop. In which, a lot of these jobs I look back on them now, I was like, that has nothing to do with what I'm doing now, but they really do. They're experiences. I mean, no one in their right mind wants to buy tires. Could you think of anything worse to buy than tires? No one wants to buy. So everybody walks in there, they're mad, they've had a horrible day, they're probably broke down on the side of the road, maybe had to get a tow. So if you can, learn to sell someone tires and them be happy and satisfied with it, you can sell anything, like fitness,
Right.
I did that. I had a very long, illustrious career as an Alton police officer. That's about 10 months. So I worked at the Alton Telegraph and the circulation department for a while. I worked surveillance for the President Casino. A lot of different things, and a lot of them you think, what's that have to do with what you do now? But they're all just sort of experience. You learn how to deal with a lot of different people in a lot of different situations.
Right. Well, and I think anybody with that entrepreneurial spirit, it usually comes from, it's in you for a long time. So you're always learning things about the business that, maybe your average employee doesn't really care about your processes and systems. But if it's maybe in the back of your mind to be an entrepreneur or have your own business someday, you're always thinking, that's, maybe you just file it away for later, not even consciously.
Exactly. I think I knew that I always wanted to do something on my own. I always figured it would be like what do the kids say, a side hustle. I thought I would, have a job, a full-time job, but then do something on the side. I worked at the Simmons Law Firm for 4 or 5 years as a legal investigator. I learned, a lot of the people there, they kind of have that entrepreneurship, spirit, like John Simmons, how he kind of built that firm up. So I got to watch, I was around a lot of intelligent people who, guided me and who I'm still very close with now that I'm able to go to for, different pieces of advice and things.
So let's talk about, how your business started. Tell us about just kind of the story of Pride Fitness.
Well, when I was at the Simmons Law Firm, at one time, if you remember, it was called the Simmons Cooper Law Firm. Jeff Cooper, he was one of the managing partners. And him and I went to the same gym, and he knew I trained in jiu-jitsu and some MMA and boxing back then. And he was like, hey, we should get into this, this MMA, it's up and, it's up and coming, and, we should start training fighters or something like that. And I was still working as a legal investigator. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. And so, He's like, Matt Hughes. And Matt Hughes was like the 9-time world champion. He's in UFC Hall of Fame, but he's from like Hillsboro, Illinois. One time he was one of the baddest men on the planet.
Right.
I didn't know him, but I was good friends with one of his best friends, Mark Fiore, who was Hughes' wrestling coach. I told Cooper, hey, I don't know him, but I know this Mark Fiore. Long story short, Cooper and I flew out to Vegas while Hughes was filming the Ultimate Fighter reality show on Spike TV. And we met with Hughes and Fiore, his wrestling coach, and Robbie Lawler, who's still fighting in the UFC today. We met with these guys and just talked about, we just wanted to like sponsor up and coming fighters and help, because they don't make much money as they're coming up. And
Right.
it spiraled from sponsoring them to training them to we started a gym in Granite City, and this gym spiraled into, we had used the old Army barracks down on the, remember the old, what was it, the Army depot? Mm-hmm. And so we ended up turning the barracks down there into like these fighters' dorms. So we had people coming from Ireland and Germany and England and just from all over the world and all over the country. They would come in and do, fight camps. And or they would, some of them would end up just living there permanently. And so as we were doing that, I know that these fighters didn't have anybody doing their strength and conditioning. And so I started helping out a couple of them, because I'd been training and kind of helping people in fitness for a long time. And I'd studied it. I mean, say it's studying it, but I wasn't studying. I just was really into it. And so I was always just trying to learn and be better. Right. And I thought that maybe someday it was something I want to get into. So I started helping a couple of these fighters, and they were having success. And the more I helped them, the more success they've had. And a couple of these guys actually made it to the UFC, which is, the pinnacle of the sport. And so the next thing I know, I have all these different fighters. Hey, can you help me? Can you help? And my job, I didn't say this, but my job, I was part owner, but I was the general manager. So training these guys wasn't part of my job, but I just started doing it. Next thing I know, I have like a waiting list of guys wanting to come and train with me. Long story short, Cooper just kind of ends up selling the gym. Like, I'm out of the business. I'm going to go work on women's professional soccer. And so the new owner kind of made an offer for me to stay. I didn't like it, didn't like him. So I'm like, I think maybe I'll do this on my own.
Right.
So I turned my garage into a gym. I had this old, like, someone gave me some old wood paneling, like from the 70s, like your grandma had in her basement.
Sure, yeah.
And so I put wood paneling all around it and just, bought used old equipment and made used equipment, and I just started doing personal training. And I would start super early in the morning, and I would do personal training all day long.
Were those mostly one-on-one
It
sessions?
It was all one-on-one stuff. I don't know. Do you know who Tim Nelson is? Mm-hmm. Coach Nelson. Yep. You've heard the Nelly Strong guy. He passed away. But when he was the head football coach at Marquette, he brought me on to do strength and conditioning for the team. So I would go up there to their weight room 3 days a week and do their strength and conditioning.
Right.
They had a great year. They ended up going to the Elite Eight that year. I was doing it. So then I had more teams and athletes starting to contact me about doing that. I started me and a couple friends, we started a little workout in my yard on Saturday mornings. And we, flipping tires, and we just called it was circuit training. We just called it circuit. And so we put some videos and pictures up, and it kept growing. And like, there was 3 of us for a few weeks, and the next week I had 9 people. And then within a few weeks I had 20 people in my yard. So we started doing that. 2 days.
And these are just friends that you're probably
at first,
not even charging at the time?
I wasn't charging them at the time. When it went from, okay, this is free to I'm paying you, it was a very awkward situation.
Right, yeah, I'm going to need, right.
Yeah, but we started doing that in my yard. And like I said, it just started growing. I remember I had 10 stations, 10 exercises that you would do. And I remember the first time that there was going to be over 10 people there, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Right.
Now looking back on that, it's hilarious because now we'll have 200 people at one of these workouts.
Right.
But, and back then I would make my own equipment. I would go to Goodwill. I would buy like old basketballs and fill them with sand, and then put duct tape over them and call them a medicine ball. I mean, we just did all kinds of different things like that.
I think what's so unique about the experience is you go to a lot of gyms and most people are by themselves, got their headphones in. There's no community really to it. It's just kind of, and that's okay. But yours, you partner up with somebody, but it's not just your partner. There's like a whole community of people that are there participating and kind of suffering, I guess, together.
Right. And that's, a lot of people always say to me, like, oh, I love what you've done. It's like, you built this thing and made it great. But it's, we started with some really good people when we started. I have some great friends, and they're the ones, like I said, they started doing that in the yard, and we've just kind of built that like this sort of pride way. Like like the Cardinals have their way, and there's always these traditions, and it just, the people who've been doing it a while, they pass it down to the rookies, and we've just kind of created this culture. And everybody there is, they have the same sort of goals in mind, and they're like-minded people, that come there. And like you said, there's something when someone next to you is, working out hard and suffering,
right,
and going through something, and it creates a bond,
One of those traditions, so we kind of joked about the walk-up song to start the episode. But that's one of the traditions. Every workout starts with that song.
Exactly. And the music and the playlist has always been a big thing there.
Right.
Even when we did it in my yard, I would run speaker wire out in my yard. I had these big giant, like two big giant, those big wooden speakers.
Right, yeah.
We'd set it out in my yard, and the playlist was always a big thing. And the very first one we did back in 2011, so 10 years ago, the first song was that Dropkick Murphy song, Shipping Up to Boston. And so we just used that every time. And we were only doing one circuit a week.
Right.
And then we started in the yard, we started doing 2. And then when we moved to the next gym, we were doing 3. So now we're doing 4 times a week, and every single one of them starts with that Shipping Up to Boston song. Now I play that like I'm really pumped up about it, but I've heard that song 5,300,000,000 times,
right,
So it's
just about how many times a week for the last 10 years.
Exactly.
A lot. So
exactly.
You went through a little bit of adversity in the business here not long ago, and kind of found out you're going to have to move pretty soon.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about that story and just kind of some of the, I don't know, just the interesting events that transpired to lead you to where your location is now.
Yeah, it's, we were just leasing the building, and our lease was up, but we had just kind of been going month to month. And then, the landlords, they needed the space, and they said, hey, we're going to have this space. You're going to need to find someplace. And they gave us a lot of leeway on, but they needed the space really badly because
right,
they had their own business wanting to move in. So, man, we started a search. I mean, a big time search, and just
because it's not. If you haven't been to Pride, it's not just like going and finding an office space.
It's
huge, you need a lot of room.
And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know how much that room cost. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
We just looked, we looked all over Madison County, and just nothing was. I thought, there was times I was just like, you know what, I just want to get out of the business and go do. I was seriously going to buy an old van and just travel the country and just, record my adventures and
right,
see what happened then. I'm not married, I don't have any kids, so I thought, that's what I'd do. And then, and then we found some different places, and they kept falling through on us. And I was like, man, maybe this just, I'm a Christian, and I always think God has a plan. And I thought maybe His plan is not to do this. And so, we found the spot we're in now. I knew about this location, but I knew how much they wanted, and it was just not something that was in the books for us, and just super blessed somehow. The owner gave us a great deal, helped us, wanted us in there because she knew it was something that was great for the community. Her great grandkids come to Pride, so she was like, I want this to do some good. And it was that the building had been in their family a long time, so we found it a couple months ago, and we're back up and running.
Seems like the city of Wood River really wanted you to stay as well, and kind of helped you out. I know
they did.
Chief Brad Wells was out there, leading the charge.
Like he said, he was twisting arms,
right?
And, and I think he had a little bit to do with the lady selling to us, and he comes to Pride 3 days a week. The guy's had 2 hips replaced. That's how old he is. And he still comes, after getting that, he still comes to Pride. He loves it, and he knows what it kind of does for the community. And so 2 days after I found out that we had to move, he was taking me around showing me places, so it's been awesome. The city of Wood River has been fantastic to me.
So many business owners get started because, to use the restaurant analogy, they know how to make a cookie, so they open a cookie shop.
Right.
And that's how most people do get started. What's been the hardest part for you from a business side of things to learn to overcome?
It's just my whole thing. I love what I do just because I love seeing people like change their way of thinking and, thinking they can't do things and they suddenly can do them, or, going from just, sitting on the couch and being a sloth to being almost addicted to working out and fitness and things like that. And one of the most disappointing things is kind of when I lose people. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Just on that journey,
Right.
and the next thing you know, you just kind of fall off. And I like to connect to our our people on a personal level and trying to get them back. And you just they feel like they can't, they know how hard it's going to be, and just getting them back. That's always disappointing to me. I guess when you kind of lose someone,
Sure. And because it is it's like addiction when it comes to food and nutrition and things like that, or not working out. You basically fall off the wagon sometimes.
It is, and people are always like, working out for you is easy, and you're so motivated. Like, listen, I almost hate working out, but like you said, it's almost an addiction. If I don't, I feel like crap,
Yeah.
And so, that's it. And we've had a lot of people who come to Pride that were addicts, that were addicted to something not as good as as
not even
as fitness,
cheeseburgers
who now have
Yeah.
traded that in, like, as fitness is their addiction instead of the whatever illegal thing they were doing before that. So that's been great to see.
I mean, it really is saving lives in a lot of ways. I know you maybe don't like to step back and think of it that way, but it is.
It sounds over dramatic to say,
Right,
but it is. And and like I said, it's not me saving their life. It's the people at our gym that step up. And if you're new and you come into Pride and maybe you're 100 pounds overweight, someone there is going to take you under their wing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I don't always have the time to do that, but there's someone there will always do that. And I think one of the scariest things about when I thought maybe we weren't going to be able to find a place, I was going to get out of business, and this is going to sound cheesy and over dramatic, but I was more worried about what the people that come to Pride were going to do if we did shut down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, I know how many lives it's changed and how many people depend on it.
Sure. Talk a little bit about just kind of your personal fitness journey. I think you've probably always been mostly a workout guy from a pretty young age, but
Yeah, it's
it's changed. I know it's morphed over the years.
Yeah,
too.
it has very much so. I always tell a story. On my desk at the gym, I have an old barbell, and it was my dad probably made this 60 some years ago when he was a little kid, and it's made out of the old metal coffee cans. He filled
Right.
those with and you can't tell they're coffee cans anymore because it's so just eroded and things like that. But it was two old coffee cans and a barbell or whatever. And so it was at my grandmother's house when I was a kid, and we would go there and we'd try to pick it up. And as we got older, we would try to lift it over our heads. And then we got older, curls for the girls with it. And so I think that was part of putting me on my journey. But yeah, I've always been into fitness. Back in the day, you'd read those Flex magazines and do the all the bodybuilding type.
Right.
You go in and spend 2 hours doing a chest workout. I don't do that kind of workouts now, and it's almost a bad word in the fitness world, but more functional stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing a lot of just carrying heavy sandbags and doing a lot of heavy farmer's walks, and I do a lot of hitting heavy bags and sprints and things like that.
I think you put it to me one time that you train as if someone's trying to kill you.
Well, there's a saying: "Make yourself harder to kill."
That's what it is. Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's exactly right, and that's kind of how I model it. And I still go in and do bench press and things like that, but I make sure to do a lot of things where I'm just more functional for life.
Right. How do you balance? You train people at all ends of the spectrum, as you mentioned, 100 pounds overweight, to some of the fighters that were coming to you. I'm sure we're in great shape, probably better shape than you in some cases.
Exactly. And I always
That's hard to believe, I know.
I try to train people pretty much the same way. You don't have to be an athlete to train like one, but obviously you have to modify certain things in certain ways. But it's still that grind, go after it, my mentality. And that's the great thing about our circuit workout that we do. It's circuit training, so you do a station 30 seconds, you rest 30 seconds, you do another station 30 seconds. And so, we'll have a college wrestler who's getting ready for the season, or we'll have, a housewife there wanting to lose 100 pounds.
Right.
And everybody works at their own pace is why they still get the same workout. And I'm still pushing each of them, but I'm pushing the wrestler to do is the best that he can. I'm pushing the person that wants to lose 100 pounds. I'm pushing them to their limit, and they're each of them have different limits, and like in the fitness world, it's not how much knowledge you have about fitness and things like that. It's more how you connect with the people and you learn what motivates each person. Now, somebody who's like in their face, what I'm saying, that doesn't work for everyone.
Right.
They might need more positive reinforcement.
Sure. A couple last quick questions with Todd Laux from Pride Fitness. Ideal day for you? How's it go?
Well, an ideal day for me, I just nap all day.
Oh,
That's
okay.
how no,
I'm not believing that.
No, it's just it's a day where at the end of the day you just say, you know what, I made a difference. You know what I'm saying? I made people's lives better. I see people doing things that they didn't think they could do. We train more women at my gym than we do men, and it's really fulfilling because women are like, they're scared to use barbells, they're scared to use dumbbells or lift weights. I don't think that they can be strong, but I will tell you this: women are way tougher than guys by far.
Much higher pain tolerance.
And I think that's why we don't get as many guys, is because they're like, I already know what I'm doing, or they're afraid to look stupid. But just a day where I feel like that. I've changed some lives, and people have gotten better because of what I've done.
Right. Yeah. Toughest day for you that you've had since being a business owner?
Well, I mean, the day that I knew I was going to have to leave probably was that one. Like I said, we really thought that was our home, and that's probably been the toughest one. I was in a bad spot for a while trying to find it, but luckily I'm blessed and Thunderdome 2.0.
Yeah. And finally, one piece of advice you could give to somebody thinking about starting a business today?
Find someone that's, and me and my brother just talked about that on our podcast, Eat, Slay, Live. There's a.
We'll cut that out.
You like that little?
Yeah, that's a good plug.
No, but
that
we
was
did.
Nice.
We actually did. Find someone who's doing what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Who's already successful at it, and go to them. Ask them to show you how to do it. Let them, shadow them. Tell them that you'll work for them for free or whatever. If I had someone who said, hey, I want to do what you're doing, can I come and work with you or work for you for free or shadow you, or would you be my mentor? I would be all over it. It's just flattering, and that's the best way to do it,
Yeah, right. You're the second person that said that. They went and worked for free in a business that they were interested in just to learn as much as they possibly could about it.
And that person that you're working for free for will end up paying you. They will hire you. They will whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because we're all looking for people that share the passion. Everybody wants to pass on the knowledge. I remember my brother Ross, when he started the Brick House, he went to all these different business owners, like Kathy Gross at Bluff City and Eddie Schuler down at Fast Eddie's.
Sure.
And he went to them and he's like asking them, like, sitting down and having meetings about how they did. I'm like, these are your competitors. But I can't tell you how incredibly, helpful they were to him.
I think no matter competitors or not, most small business owners want to see other small business owners succeed, even if
they really do. They know how hard the grind is and how hard it is starting up like that. So they're more than happy to help you.
Right. Any other last words of wisdom? One last plug for the podcast for Eat, Slay, Live.
Eat, Slay, Live. Well, thanks for having me on, brother.
Hey, thanks for coming. Glad you could do it.
And I know you wanted to let me speak louder, but you passed me a little note and said the batteries were going dead on the camera, so we have to stop.
Got to wrap it up. Sorry. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, here we go. I just got loud.